Welcome to the Craft Impact Marketing Podcast, where we talk about marketing for RIAs, independent financial advisors. The world needed one more podcast, is what we decided. So Faustin and I took that upon ourselves. This is our cross to bear. One more show where you just have two white guys that are kind of riffing on marketing topics. And we need your support to help us grow this into a viral sensation. So please like, subscribe, comment, repost, and I guess just put it into all of your email newsletters and social media channels that you can. We'd appreciate that. We're going to tackle common questions that we hear. My name is Stephen Beach, the co-founder of Craft Impact. I have on the show with me Faustin Weber, who is one of our marketing strategists. And so between us, we hear a lot of questions from financial advisors around ROI, marketing tactics, how we support organic growth, how they should be evaluating different shiny objects. And so between the two of us, we just want to tackle these common questions and kind of share our unique perspectives. I will say some of what we're going to share will be anecdotal stories and not data-driven. Other things will be data-driven and coming off client examples. So we don't pretend to have the answer set in stone for every single question, but we're hoping that by talking this through, we can share kind of a different perspective and share a unique way for you to look at this and kind of arm yourself with the right knowledge so that you can choose a marketing partner or evaluate your existing marketing partner to help efficiently grow your practice. Thanks for joining us.
Stephen, it's great to be with you. As you said, we wanted to be on the cutting edge and start a podcast right before anyone else had.
This is the year of the podcast.
Yeah, 2025. This is the year of the podcast. But let's start with our just the number one question that I'm asked, you're asked, especially early on when people first reach out and want to learn a little bit more about our services. They say, okay, so let's say I invest, right, on a monthly basis with you. I invest in marketing. What is that return on investment, right? And what's the timeline that I can expect to see that return on investment? I know you're well versed at talking through this and kind of sharing our philosophy here at Craft Impact. So why don't you tackle this one first?
Love it. I think for a lot of business owners of financial advisory businesses, many of them have not put a lot of time, effort, and money into the marketing side because the model that they've followed is more so, focus on client service, do a really good job with your clients, and then the referrals will come, So a lot of them that we work with have built their businesses like that, which is great. And so now for the first time, they're really trying to evaluate adding a marketing channel, right? Like adding a marketing partner or bringing somebody in-house to kind of give them another lift to build their business. So I think this is probably the most common question we get. And so of course we have a lot of thoughts, and what I want to do is just kind of share what I tell people, on the phone or in person, and not necessarily around craft and, us and our pricing, although we can discuss that, but just how to evaluate it, I guess, and kind of the perspective that I think a lot of smart business owners have as they go into it, right? So I would divide it into two buckets for marketing. Marketing is a big term, right? But you could just look at it as kind of operational marketing as bucket number one, and then lead gen marketing is bucket number two, lead generation, right? So when people say, what's my ROI? What they're getting at is, if I put $1 in, how many dollars do you spit back out at me? Simple. That's like the lead gen side. So we'll get to that in a second. Operational marketing, though, I think the way we look at our role in our partners' businesses is we need to support them with, collateral, client communications. We just had a really big one this past week where the Trump tariffs went into effect and the markets plummeted for 2 straight days, and they're getting a lot of incoming calls. It's like, how do we proactively communicate with our client base so that we're not fielding as many calls, or so that people are a little bit more comfortable and they know where we stand and so on. So that's kind of, you're not going to get ROI out of that you can measure anyways, right? That'd be impossible to measure. But it's like operational marketing. It needs to be done. It's part of the business model. It's part of your client service model, right? So we look at it that way, and that's just kind of, I'm not trying to avoid the answer, but that's just kind of an expense. You could call it a marketing expense. Then on the other side of bucket number two, like marketing investment, right? It would be, if I put $1 in and how much do I get out? $2, $3, what's it look like? How many new clients do I generate if I invest 10 grand a month in marketing? It needs to be a certain number of clients. And so for those, we found it's again, it can be hard to measure. It used to be easier to measure, frankly. it can be hard to measure kind of the attribution of each, new client that's coming into your business. So at the highest level where we look at it would be, tell us your goal for net new for the year or the next 3 years, whatever that is. We have clients that are trying to add, say 25 million net new. Some of them are looking to add 100. Some of them are looking to add, some of them are at 300 million and they're trying to get to a billion in 3 to 5 years. And so I say tie us to that number, right? I want to be tied to that, because if we're a marketing agency that is truly invested in your business and we want to generate a return for your money, we need to know that, because everything we do will be geared towards helping you hit that goal. And so if we don't hit that, right? So say the goal is, 50 million in net new for 2025, and you pay Kraft or you pay some other marketing agency or a freelancer 100 grand for the year, and you're trying to get there. If you get to 50 million net new and you've paid 100 grand towards a marketing line item, are you happy with that? And most business owners would say, yeah, that's good. Sounds good. Everybody's happy. So I say measure it like that at the highest level, because you have the option to, drop your marketing partner, to hire somebody else, to not do anything. And it's going to be impossible to measure all the micro engagements and the attribution that comes, where it's like, who gets credit for this lead where, they had 50 touch points in their journey to become your client. It's really hard to say, should the marketing team get credit? Should, your financial planner get credit? Should you, as the co-founder who you originally met the person, get credit? Should, whatever. So there's just so many ways to tie it. But if you tie us to that high level goal, and then, you've got a flat expense line item that you plan for, then most business owners that we talk to say, yeah, sure, I'll take that. And I say that as the highest level example, because it's going to be, with the exception of like paid ads, it's going to be really, really hard to measure, black and white, how much you spend versus how much you're getting back, right? So we've had advisors come to us and say, I'm pissed at I don't like marketing, and I'm so frustrated because I spent 20 grand on paid ads and I got nothing in return. Or I spent 20 grand on paid ads, I got one lead, right? Shied away from paid ads because, to us, the people who are looking for high net worth or ultra high net worth clients aren't finding them via paid ads. But that would be a very direct thing where it's like you put money into the, Google ad campaign, you get 10 leads back, they go through your website, they convert on your website. You meet with 7 of them, 2 of them are unqualified, 5 of them or 4 of them say not now, 1 of them becomes a client. Easy, super easy. But paid ads are even that. Think about what happens when, somebody clicks a paid ad and comes to your website and then goes through all that journey, right? You need to bring them to a landing page that's built, that's super compelling, that has the messaging dialed in, that resonates with them. You need to have the right imagery on your paid ad and on that landing page. You need to have a thank you email, or rather a series of thank you emails that says, great meeting you. Here's another resource that we thought you'd be interested in. Here's our upcoming meeting, some other things that you should look for. All these kind of things. Those are all done by a marketing team that, cost money and time, and you have to have those in place, but they're not really tied to that, paid ad lead. They're kind of, they're a little bit softer. It's just like things you need to have in place. So it's hard, but I would say, if you tie a percentage goal, or if you tie a flat budget line item to your overall net new AUM, would be the most effective way to do it. The financial advisory firms that are organically growing the fastest, and I go to conferences and everybody talks about, how do we support organic growth? How do we drive it? What can we do to augment it, et cetera? The ones that are investing like anywhere from 2 to 7% of revenue into marketing are generating the highest levels of organic growth, right? So even if you just look at that, like if you're a $10 million company in revenue, you're investing 1%, that's 100 grand a year. Put 100 grand into revenue and then set a goal. For 100 grand, you need 10 million net new to break even, assuming a 1% fee, right? So if somebody said to me, hey, I need, a 10 million net new, I'm going to pay you 100 grand for the year. Personally, I feel very confident that our team can achieve that, and removing all the other things that we can't measure, removing all the other factors and considerations we can't control. That's I think a strong but simple way to look at it.
I would just add to that too that firms come and partner with us. They're at different levels in terms of building out the marketing infrastructure, like you were highlighting, Stephen, with what needs to happen with paid ads, right? Not just the actual ads, but all the different pieces and the collateral that need to be created and delivered to actually convert those people after they've shared their information on an ad and actually get them into a meeting. And so I would say, yes, we're connecting our marketing tactics and our overall strategy to net new overall as a firm so that you can measure ROI in that way. But for the firms that are already doing all of these different marketing tactics, that are already publishing consistent content, that are publishing across different channels and platforms, we're going to add almost immediate ROI in being able to improve and enhance all those different things that are already happening. And I think that it's important for firms, if you're listening to this, to understand that if you already have a content machine going, we're going to make all the little tweaks and different things to improve the overall marketing engine that you've already built. Versus if you have a firm that, if you're a firm that comes in and you haven't built all that infrastructure, like you're still working on the right messaging or still trying to figure out who your target audience should be moving forward, and you need to improve your branding or build out a new website, we can also work with you. It's just the ROI timeline is a little bit longer in those cases, right? Versus someone, if you're hearing this and you're like, I already have all those pieces in place, like I'm ready to supercharge this machine, we can come in and show some really quick ROI. Not all the times immediate leads, but overall tactics, the tactics overall are going to be much improved.
Yeah, nice. I think that's a good distinction too. It's let's take two extreme examples. One would be like a breakaway advisory group, and one would be, an established RIA that's been in business for 20 years that has already been producing content on a consistent basis for a year or two, let's say. Situation number one with the breakaway advisor, assuming they don't have, they're coming from a wirehouse, let's say they don't have their own brand name, they don't have their logo, they don't have their messaging dialed in, they may or may not have a target persona that they really want to drive into. They certainly don't have a website that they can control. They don't have social media channels. They don't have email marketing. They don't have video marketing. They don't have, the ability to host a webinar and so on. What's my ROI going to be for somebody like that if they're asking me, right? I mean, two ways to look at it. One, your return on your investment, if you're looking at it from a kind of a holistic view. One, we're going to take all the headache and we're going to put a strategy in place that you would have some idea of, but you wouldn't be able to do it yourself. You could probably teach it to yourself over time, or learn it off ChatGPT, or watch the right marketing channels to kind of learn it from the pros. But it would take you so much time, and you're already better at being a financial advisor, or you're better at running your practice, where it would make no sense for you to do it yourself. So the ROI is really like the return on your time, and so I would say that also applies to the return on time piece would apply to the RIA that's already established, that has been doing marketing, that has a lot of these things in place already. But now, again, they might want to focus on inorganic growth, or they might want to focus on hiring and scaling, or adding a tax practice, or whatever it may be. And they need a partner who understands the industry. They need a partner who's going to execute at a high quality level and take that off of their plate. So it's like a return on their time, which then, like, Kitsy's talks about this. How do you put a value on your time? And you can assign a dollar figure to that, right, on an hourly basis. For a lot of advisors, that's a high number, like $300 to $600 an hour, depending on your experience and your track record and your client base and so on. So, that'd be a non-monetary way to look at ROI in terms of, quick wins, or kind of the first 3 to 6 months. If you're looking at it from a monetary basis, though, so for the breakaway advisor, let's go back to that example. If the breakaway advisor says, "Hey, I'm gonna put 100 grand into my marketing team for the year. When can I expect to see 100 grand in revenue, right? So I can break even." That's like probably the question that everybody leads with, and what they're getting to, right, is forget all the fluff. Like, I need to have a positive cash flow at some point in order for this business to be viable and for me to be sustainable. So in that case, yeah, we tell people, well, you're going to figure out if we're a good partner right off the bat in the first 90 days. You're going to be able to
Yeah,
know,
pretty
yeah,
quickly.
you're going to be able to
Yeah.
understand, are these guys for real or not? Do they know what they're doing? Are they producing things at a quality level or not? Do I have to babysit them? Do they understand compliance? Do they even know what an RIA is versus an IAR? Like these kind of things. And then so you're gonna have a feeling there, first of all. But
Yeah.
then in terms of like generating new revenue, I tell people, give us, 6 to 9 months, maybe 9 to 12 months, depending on how quickly we're going, depending on the level that we're going. So Craft Impact has monthly retainers anywhere from 7,500 to 15 grand. That's kind of where most of our clients fall. We have some lower and some higher than that. But it's all dependent on the client and all the factors that they have. But, if you're spending 7,500 a month versus 15 grand a month, there's a different timeline on when you can expect to see new revenue. But I will tell you, within the first 90 days, you're gonna know if we're the right partner or not going forward. And then within 6 to 9 months, we're gonna be able to point to things where it may not be okay. Kraft brought in this client right here for me, and they did 100% of the work coming in. But it could be, there's a person that visited my website, and then I had a meeting with them, and then they attended one of our webinars, and then we sent them 7 emails over the course of 4 months. And then I had another meeting with them, and then they downloaded an ebook off our website, and then I had a closing call with them, and they became a client. Who gets credit for all those touch points?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's impossible to, so we don't like to kind of take credit or try to bucket that. We like to just say, we're part of the overall lift. And again, set a revenue goal or set a net new goal. Tell us where you want it to come from. That could be referrals, consolidations, net new households, etc. If we can drill down into that, great. If not, we'll just set the overall goal and then measure against that, right? So if the breakaway advisor, their goals could be, I want to bring over a certain number of clients and certain amount of assets. And certainly we can help with that, right? And then their goal might be within the first year of being in my own independent RIA, I want to generate, 30 million net new. I'm paying Kraft, a certain flat fee. At the end of 12 months, we're going to measure against it. And that I think would be, again, a really simple but effective way to kind of measure the ROI.
I guess I would say, like, just going back to the example around time, right? Like, as the time of recording, Kitsy's 2025 marketing study has not come out yet, but that's a key element of the 2024 study. Is it shows like the higher growth practices who spend more in marketing, actually they have a greater cost in terms of the advisor time that's spent. And so I think that's a really good point that you bring up, Stephen, is like that's one of the big returns on investment, is that we cut down that cost almost immediately, right? We have a very set structure that we take on almost immediately with the practices that we partner with, where we start a weekly meeting cadence where we own all of the agendas and what happens on the agendas. And we take a lot of the ideas that advisors have been storing up. I mean, I feel like most of the advisors we work with have incredible ideas about what to do with marketing. They've just never been able to execute on them. And almost immediately, we take all those ideas, we can put a whole structure to it, we build a whole strategy around it, connected to the overall practice goals in that new age. But we take away that time element pretty quickly. And that's that 2 to 3 months that you're talking about, those first 90 days, Stephen, where people know right off the bat if we're going to be a good partner for them or not. They might not necessarily see the leads coming in the door right off the bat, but they understand that there's a lot of good work happening either on the operational side or either improving all the different things that they've been trying to do around lead gen.
Right. Yeah, even getting started in a simple manner, right? Like some of the quick win. I'll just share a couple quick win examples where I think a lot of business owners would say, yes, that's a return on my investment. Would be, I mean, one would be like, well, we do, market commentary. It's either monthly or quarterly. It takes, I don't
Yeah.
know, it's a process between, this advisor and the CIO and whoever puts it together. Maybe it takes, 10 to 12 hours from start to finish. Within the first 30 to 60 days, we could take that over and drop your time from 10 to 12 hours down to 30 minutes. I mean, we need a recorded Zoom call with you and or any written content you already have. Maybe you have a outsourced CIO that you can share their materials with us and we can repurpose, and then prepare your client list, run it through compliance and review, and then send it. And again, you've already saved a lot of time there. The other example would be, I have this old slide deck from, 2003, and I'm serving, $1 million
It
and up
happens
clients.
pretty
Like,
often.
that happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, who's going to figure out this slide deck thing? It's not that
Yeah.
crazy. It's not that hard of a task. It's not that difficult. But, can we refresh this thing and then put it in the hands of our advisors so that they can use it with prospects or people who are, close to closing, right? And that right there, that would be some ROI depending on how you look at it. If it helps close a prospect into a client, and if even if it just had a little bit of impact on that prospect's decision making as they're evaluating you versus your 2, 3 other competitors, that is ROI, right? So that's where we try to place ourselves. Like, how can we stay close to revenue? That's what we call it, stay close to the money, stay close to the revenue, and kind of be a sales enablement partner, especially in the first 30 to 60 days, to, again, like, show some quick wins so you can start to, understand that you can trust us, and so we can show some ROI, even if it's not exactly black and white, dollar in, dollar out kind of thing. So that's
Yeah, I
how I
love
would look
that.
at it.
A couple of quick examples of exactly what you're talking about with the investment commentary. Just started with a new partner last month, and they send out a quarterly commentary. It's usually all written. It takes the advisor, multiple hours to do all the research. And we said, hey, why don't we help you take that on? And he's like, well, I've had this idea for a while about potentially recording a video to sort of help with the whole description of what's going on in the markets, and also to better enhance the client experience from what they're getting. Because I've been getting some anecdotal feedback that, people aren't able to read my whole investment commentary, but they might listen to a 3 to 5 minute video. But I don't even know where to start with that. And we say, okay, let's help you with that, right? You record a video for us. We'll help you with the visual slides that we can represent. And when we edit the video, we can show those slides as you're talking through those points. And then we'll actually take the transcript from your video and build out a draft of what the investment commentary can be. And I just remember the look on this advisor's face when he was considering that. And he said, you mean I could just record a 5 minute video talking through my points and you could create everything else? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we can do.
Right.
And so that's not ROI in the sense of I have, more assets that I'm taking on, but we've bettered the client experience, and we've saved that advisor, 8 to 10 hours of work that he can invest on following up with new prospects, that he can invest on, client meetings that can potentially ask for referrals. So you make this connection between what seems like just a small marketing tactic to greater improvements for the firm overall down the road.
Nice. Love it. All right. Thanks for sharing. All right. That's it for us riffing on ROI for financial advisory firms. Now, what we need you to do is repost, like, subscribe, comment, and share with everyone you've ever met in a professional manner these episodes so that our podcast can go viral. We would really appreciate that. Faustin and I both personally need that to kind of validate our effort here. And we'll get into the other top questions in further episodes. Thanks very much.